So, you killed Margit and you're making your way into Stormveil Castle. You see this creepy Duke Gostock to the side of the main entrance enticing you to take the side path into the castle. Either way, you make your way inside. Once inside, you're met with castle guards. You know, the guys with annoying storm ashes of war, and fire twirlers. That's all good and fun though, because there are also the banished knights, which you're stuck with the rest of the game. After a bit of roof parkour and a creepy demigod corpse, you find your way back to Godric, who grafts himself to a dragon, only to be bested by you. Now, by design, this dungeon is fun, unforgiving, educational, and last but of course the best, it is packed full of lore. How are the only two areas involving storms and tornadoes related? And beyond that, who is this game's aforementioned ancient Stormlord? I believe this can be answered with some consequential evidence and some item descriptions. The Old Lord's Talisman item description reads, a legendary talisman depicting the ancient king who lies at the storm beyond time. Now, I suppose I should get this out of the way. Yes, it does say king, however, for the sake of the video and the likeliness of this being the case, I'm going to say that both the Storm King and the Storm Lord are mutually exclusive. With that, I am also going to mention that I believe Farum Azula and the Stormveil region were perhaps the same, and not too long before the events of the game either. Let's go back to Godwyn the Golden. I don't think he ever held the title of Stormlord, but his story is very important in the instruction of this video. Many people know that Ranni had Godwyn assassinated by a black knife imbued with part of the Rune of Death. Let's talk about that timeline real quick. I'll start us off with Malekith's Black Blade. Here's its item description. Malekith's Black Blade, which once harbored the power of the Rune of Death, a sad shadow of its former glory. After a fragment of death was stolen on that fateful night, Malekith bound the blade within his own flesh, such that none might ever rob death again. Now, let's look at the Black Knife item description. Dagger, once belonging to one of the assassins who murdered Godwyn the Golden on the night of the Black Knives. A ritual performed on the oddly misshapen blade imbued it with the power of the stolen Rune of Death. Unless Malekith decided to leave Farum Azula, this means that this would have taken place at or near the Farum Azula Great Bridge. But keep in mind, Marika sealed him here to protect the Rune of Death, so it's highly unlikely he would have remained anywhere else with the Black Blade. Also, as a side note, I want to mention that Gronk and Khalid and Malekith are the same person. However, much like Marika and Radagon, I believe he is able to split himself and manifest himself into two different beings. And I think that the consequential evidence to support this is the fact that him and Marika are half-siblings, and she already has this ability to do that we know. So, let's look at the Black Knife print item description. On the night of Black Knives, someone stole a fragment of death from Malekith, the Black Blade, and imbued its power into the assassin's daggers. This finally connects the timeline by confirming that all of this happened in one night. Not a day, a night. They had stolen the fragment of the Black Blade and then assassinated Godwyn the Golden. Since Farum Azula can be observed from Melania's Divine Tower, it seems as if only parts of it are truly suspended in time. This means Ranni would have had to claim part of Malekith's armament, go back to Liurnia, arm her assassins with imbued knives, have them go to Stormveil, and finally curse Godwyn to live in death. This would have had to have happened in the span of hours, which isn't really feasible unless Farum Azula was in a different location, like Limgrave, close to Stormveil. This makes sense, considering Limgrave has caves featuring enemies from Farum Azula, tons of buried golems. How did they get buried and where did they come from? Most of the sky ruins out of any region are in Limgrave. The most banished knights, where did they get banished from? And who is the Stormlord that Godfrey challenged and beat in the storm before the Shattering, and before eventually losing his lust for challenge. Another interesting tidbit supporting this information is the Grafted Blade Greatsword, the storied sword of Castle Morn, a revenger's weapon. It is burdened with oceans of anger and regret, one of the legendary armaments. A lone surviving champion from a country now vanished was so determined to continue fighting that he claimed the swords of an entire clan of warriors. Not much is known about the Castle Morn, but I believe that it's interpreted as a period before the Golden Order, and before Stormveil. If you look in Stormveil, there are paintings around, and one of the paintings you can see it looks like the Divine Tower was constructed in Limgrave before Stormveil was itself. This leads me to believe that runes, or even a similar power, maybe the Five Fingers, were already here, manifesting in Limgrave with something to do with Castle Morn, but with there being a castle, it's not unfeasible to believe that there was a regional deity or a lord. And if Farum Azula was still in Limgrave before the construction of Stormveil, then I turn to the Elden Lord. What? I thought we were talking about the Stormlord. Well, we are, but in this case, they are mutually exclusive. I believe the Stormlord, relatively shortly before Godric, was Dragon Lord Placidusax, and we know for a fact that he was an Elden Lord, perhaps before the age of the Erd Tree. There is still much not known about Stormveil or Limgrave. However, this area of the game seems to be packed with the most caves, the most dungeons, and the most secrets that you need to find. Also, it's worth noting that Nokron is directly below Limgrave when the Dusk-Eyed Queen in translation refers to Nyx, and then in other translation turns into Nok. So, it's interesting to think that the Dusk-Eyed Queen, who has connections in Farum Azula, could also have connections in Limgrave. I want to thank you all very much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please make sure to subscribe. If you want more content like this, make sure to like, because these are not easy to make, and I'm going to keep researching. So thank you very much. I will see you next time. Peace.